Hello, good evening. This is UTV Live.
Tonight at 6, murder arrests. 2 men are detained in Scotland after a man assaulted in East Belfast died at the weekend.
Also ahead, concerns over plans to open a needle exchange in Belfast city centre.
I do feel sympathy for them. They shouldn't be left to their own. They do need help, but I don't think it should be done on the streets of Belfast.
And the man who died in a crash in Armagh is named locally as Adrian Slevin.
Plus the rest of the day's news, weather and sport, including their Kings of Ulster as Armagh lift the Anglo-Celt Cup after 18 years. Two men have been arrested in Scotland on suspicion of murder after a man assaulted in East Belfast died at the weekend. The pair are being brought to Northern Ireland for questioning.
The victim, who was in his 50s, died after an attack at his flat last week. Peter Moore reports.
This is Nicholas Gordon, known as Nicky, the 51-year-old now the victim of a murder inquiry. He was left seriously injured after being attacked here during a burglary at apartments on the Hollywood Road in Belfast. The attack took place in the early hours of Tuesday morning last week. He was taken to hospital but later died. Today, fresh arrests. 2 men detained in Scotland, aged 25 and 31. Police say they'll now be returned to Northern Ireland for questioning. As officers continue to question those who have been arrested, they are appealing for anyone with any sort of information to get in touch with them. They're in particular looking for someone with doorbells, CCTV or dashcam footage that may help them in their investigation. 2 others, a 24-year-old man and a 49-year-old woman, were arrested last week on suspicion of aggravated burglary with intent to commit grievous bodily harm. However, they were both later released on bail. Residents in the area are being reassured of a continued police presence in the next few days, as they hope to find out exactly what happened here. Peter Moore, UTV Live, East Belfast.
Concerns have been raised by business owners that a new needle exchange facility in Belfast city centre will see them lose trade and bring an increase in antisocial behaviour.
However, those in favour say the exchange, which allows drug users to trade in used needles, is only one of the services on offer to help keep users safe. Jordan Moore reports.
Empty wrappers and used needles, the sign of a city being consumed by addiction. Latest figures show there were 251 drug-related deaths in Northern Ireland in 2024, with 80 in Belfast. In December, Belfast City Council approved plans from the Belfast Trust for a new needle exchange in the heart of the city, which has angered nearby business owners who say it could impact trade and increase antisocial behaviour.
So we have a massive amount of people coming over across the bridge every day, children who live in the area. We have the tourists who use this as a key destination for tourists to come and visit, take photographs. It's Belfast waterfront, so it doesn't make sense to have a facility like this on the waterfront. And I don't think it's the right place, the right location for it. It'll definitely affect our business, it'll affect other businesses in the areas. I do feel sympathy for them. They shouldn't be left to their own. They do need help, but I don't think it should be done on the streets of Belfast.
Needle exchanges work by allowing users to anonymously give in used needles and receive new clean ones. And for those who have seen them work up close, they help to protect users and the community.
So needle exchanges play a vital role in terms of returns, in terms of people bringing their needles back to an exchange so they're not on the litter in the streets. But also needle exchanges work around reducing HIV and reducing bloodborne viruses. So they do a lot of work around harm reduction. It's about also looking at that individual to try and get them off the drugs and get them into recovery. So needle exchange is a lot more than just providing a needle or a pack of needles for people.
Posters have appeared calling for people to attend a meeting on the issue and to raise complaints. But Paul does not believe this is the way to go for those concerned.
This fear initially of putting out posters and protests, come and speak to the council, come and speak to local reps and those people who are working on the ground to try and find a solution that's going to work for everybody, because The sad reality is drugs are not going to go away tomorrow. It's on the increase.
Used needles like these are dotted across Belfast, and while it's clear that there is a drug problem in this city, there is still no clear consensus from people who live here about how to deal with that problem. Jordan Moore, UTV Live, Belfast.
Well, the Belfast Trust said it met with local business owners on a number of occasions to discuss concerns and provide assurance on the core service delivery. Belfast City Council were also contacted. They recognise the need for the service to support our most vulnerable residents, and they noted that such facilities are regular features of other modern city centres.
The families of 5 people who were killed in Springhill in 1972 are calling for an apology from the government after an inquest found that soldiers did not use reasonable force in the shooting of a Catholic priest, a father of 6 and 3 teenagers in West Belfast.
Almost 3 weeks ago, Secretary of State Hilary Benn said he would take time to consider the full report. Families say they shouldn't have to wait. Stuart Robson reports.
The inquest into what happened at Springhill delivered answers after decades of determination.
The verdict of unjust killing will never end the decades of grief and trauma inflicted on our family.
When no one listened, we fought quietly. We were determined that no matter how long it took, his name would be cleared. Not only for us, but for our children and grandchildren who will no longer have to carry this burden.
The burden of blame and prejudice that has lingered for so long has now been lifted, and the record has now been set straight.
All 5 victims were killed by the army on the streets of West Belfast in July 1972. The force used, deemed not reasonable by the coroner. No warning was given before soldiers opened fire. Their actions on the night described as an overreaction in court. Patrick Butler was a father of 6. He was shot by the same bullet that killed a priest. Ahead of last month's findings, his daughter told UTV that she hoped she would one day hear the word sorry.
It would mean the world, because it means that they took responsibility of what happened that night. So I would like that to happen, but we know in our hearts that what happened that night, and as families we know that every single one of our loved ones were innocent that night.
All 5 families of those who were killed have now called on the government to issue an apology, similar to what happened following the Ballymurphy inquest and of course the Savile inquiry, which looked into the events of Bloody Sunday. If an apology doesn't come, they have described that as unequal treatment and a denial of justice. In a statement, the families added, "The truth has finally been established in a court of law. Our loved ones were innocent. They were unarmed. They should never have been killed. Yet almost 3 weeks on, the government has chosen to say nothing." They added, "That silence is not oversight. It is a continuation of the injustice our families have faced for over 50 years. Following last month's verdict, the MOD said that it remains firmly committed to supporting veterans and to the delivery of truth, recovery, reconciliation and closure. Stuart Robson, UTV Live, West Belfast.
A man killed in a road traffic collision near Armagh has been named locally as Adrian Slevin from Dromore in County Tyrone.
The father of 2 is one of 5 people killed in a weekend of tragedy on the roads in both Northern Ireland and the Republic. Here's our Northwest correspondent, Gareth Wilkinson.
A husband and a dad. Adrian Slevin is the 30th person killed on Northern Ireland's roads this year. He died yesterday morning. Pronounced dead at the scene of a 2-vehicle collision. It happened along the Clanabogan Road, just outside Armagh.
Locals say that this is an accident black spot, and this is now the second fatality to have occurred along this stretch of road in just a few weeks.
It has been a tragic weekend on the roads. 5 people killed on both sides of the border. County Donegal bore the brunt. On Saturday afternoon, 2 men aged 27 and 30 died near Donegal town. The car they were travelling in was in collision with another vehicle. And on Saturday night, a man in his 20s died in a single vehicle collision It happened in the border village of Muff, near Derry.
We truly know what those families are about to embark on.
Debbie Mullen chairs a cross-border support group for families affected by fatal crashes.
Unfortunately, every one of our volunteers within our organisation have had a bereavement, a personal bereavement. They have lost somebody due to a fatal road traffic collision. So we unfortunately know only too well. And when we hear the true devastation of another family who have lost a loved one, we feel that because we are taken right back there to when that happened to us. So we truly understand what that journey is going to be like and what they're about to embark on. And we want to offer them as much support as we can in the aftermath of this.
The grief caused by road fatalities doesn't recognise borders, north and south. The death toll has continued to rise. Gareth Wilkinson, UTV Live, Armagh.
Nurses in Northern Ireland are warning that a decline in numbers and rising clinical complexities are threatening patient safety. A survey carried out by the Royal College of Nursing asked staff about their experiences on their most recent shift. Only 1 in 10 said that they were happy that staffing levels were at the right level for all patient needs to be met.
The general public will know, if anybody has been in hospital recently or cared for in the community, the number of extra patients that are being put in corridor beds, in the wards, in the ED departments, and the caseload of patients being looked after in community is just growing.
And the Department of Health said it recognises that reform cannot be delivered without supporting the workforce and focusing on retention.
Dementia patients routinely face prolonged delays to diagnosis, followed by gaps and stark inequalities in treatment and support. That is the finding of a new report by the Alzheimer's Society. Charity representatives were in Stormont today to call on the Assembly to develop a new strategy to provide real change to a system which they say is failing patients.
If we do not make any strategic interventions, we are going to see a system that's already in crisis, even more so. We know that dementia already costs the economy, it costs the system $1 billion. That's going to rise to $2 billion in 2040.
A High Court judge has ruled that police ombudsman reports, which found collusive behaviour by RUC officers in a series of loyalist murders, must include a notice about the watchdog exceeding its legal powers. Mr Justice Schofield acknowledged that the public statement should not be completely withdrawn from publication, but he held a further form of words was required to reflect previous rulings, which former Ombudsman Marie Anderson acted on beyond her powers.
The King has accepted an invitation from the Irish President to make a state visit to the Republic next year. King Charles met with President Connolly at Buckingham Palace today, where the President extended the invitation. The two heads of state met on the first day of President Connolly's 3-day official visit to London and Leeds. Time now to take a look at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
And here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up at 6:30, the Prime Minister stands firm as the country gears up for a by-election which could define the country's leadership. Sir Keir Starmer said he's focused on the job as Andy Burnham is set to take on the Labour candidacy for the Makerfield by-election. Win that and Burnham could well be on the way to number 10. We'll have all the analysis from Westminster. Also on the programme, cute but unwanted, why a booming feline population has left catteries overwhelmed. And how the golfer Aaron Rai defied the odds to win his first ever major title. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Parliament buildings at Stormont is a landmark steeped in history, and the iconic structure represents a deeply personal journey for one visitor to Northern Ireland.
Claire Grimwood has travelled here from her home in England for the first time, motivated by the desire to connect with the legacy of her grandfather. He was one of the skilled stonemasons who helped to construct the building almost a century ago. Barbara McCann has the story.
Parliament buildings stand as a towering testament to neoclassical architecture and early 20th century craftsmanship. Constructed between 1927 and 1932, the building was a monumental investment, costing in old money £1.7 million, the equivalent of £160 million today. The structure relied on the precision of tradesmen like Claire's grandfather, Robert William Loosemore. He was a master stonemason.
He was very dedicated to his work. He was proud of his work, and I'm sure that he would have done all that was necessary and to stay here as long as it was necessary for him to be happy, satisfied with what the work was.
Standing in his footsteps at Stormont today, Claire looked on with growing admiration.
I don't know how he got the job, why he was chosen, who employed him, but we just have the photos that says that he was here. And he obviously came over specifically to do this. How long he was here, when he went back, we don't know. He had a wife and my mum in Southampton, so he probably didn't want to stay too long over here. But he was very dedicated to his work. He was proud of his work, and I'm sure that he would have done all that was necessary and to stay here as long as it was necessary for him to be happy, satisfied with what the work was.
Large-scale quarrying and industrial masonry use huge mechanised equipment like channeling machines and wire saws, powered by steam and early electricity. The more artistic and monumental stonework still leaned heavily on hand-forged steel chisels, hammers and a brace of sand, sculpted by craftsmen like Claire's grandfather. How do you think he would have reacted seeing this built at the end of the day?
He, I would think, would be very pleased to see that it is so beautiful and that it is all very nicely still in repair, because obviously some buildings he worked on, some don't even exist anymore, but this is something that I'm sure that was special to him.
For Claire, it's more than just a piece of history. It's a tangible legacy of her grandfather's precision and pride. Barbara McCann, UTV Live, Parliament Buildings, Stormont.
Fascinating. Sport time now, and it was a weekend of wins in both football and GAA.
Here's Ruth with a roundup of all the action.
Good evening. It's a huge week for Ulster Rugby as they travel to Bilbao in Spain for a first European final since 2012. Montpellier await in the Challenge Cup final, but if Ulster are to get their hands on silverware for the first time in 20 years, they'll have to do it without their four longest serving players. Ian Henderson, Stuart McCluskey, Rob Herring and Jacob Stockdale will all miss the game. Earlier today I spoke to head coach Richie Murphy about his squad.
From the weekend, Werner obviously came off early, but has actually come through okay, which is great. Rob Balakoon came off early as well, and probably not as lucky. A little bit of a calf strain, so unlikely to play this week. On the other hand, Rob Balakoon back in full training, Dave McCann back in full training.
From one cup to another, the Orchard County are still celebrating today after getting their hands on the Anglo-Celt Cup for the first time in 18 years yesterday. It was extra time that decided the game. They defeated Monaghan, and Daniel Duffy was there for us.
Families divided on Ulster final day. Clonus was a sea of blue and orange as almost 30,000 fans descended on St Tiernach's Park. Armagh hoping to end an 18-year wait, while Monaghan were planning to cause an upset. When Tiernan Kelly extended Armagh's lead to 7 points in the second half, it looked like the Orchard County were sailing to victory. But Monaghan showed a never-say-die attitude and somehow forced the game to extra time.
Is it good? The answer is yes. What a hand pass.
A penny for the thoughts of Kieran McGeaney. His side lost the last 3 Ulster finals. But it wouldn't be 4 in a row. Armagh pulled away, the demons of the last 3 years banished. The Anglo-Celt Cup is back in the Orchard.
If anybody came here expecting to go home after 70 minutes, they've only themselves to blame, really. It was always going to go to extra time and down the stretch, but we wanted this for a while now, and losing 3 in a row, you do start to wonder if it's going to happen. So yeah, just relief today.
Look, we knew it was going to be a battle all along in the lead up. We never listened to any of that noise out there. And Monaghan are a brilliant team with some unbelievable footballers, and it was always going to be a monumental task, and lucky enough we got over the line.
What does this mean to you after the disappointments of the last couple of years?
Yeah, it means everything. You know, people would mention the All-Ireland stuff, but like you grow up wanting to play in a full crowd in Clonus and win, and look at the scenes we see here behind us, and it's something that I said I'd cherish forever, and it means absolutely everything, and we all want to chase that medal. Now we've got it. Now it's about pushing on again, which I'm sure Geezer will let us know.
There's loads of people watching that could think that they could be here and beating us, but in fairness to those fellas, they've played in 4 finals, like, and it was 1 point that separated them in the other 3, like 1 point from play, like the other was went to penalties, and even like, you know, we had our chances in that one. So like they've shown that they're quality. But the thing about Ulster is there's a lot of quality around it, and you know you have to be at your very best. It does come down to those small margins, whether it's penalties or those free kicks on a particular day. But today they're on the right side of it.
So another Ulster Championship done and dusted. Armagh get their hands on the prize that has eluded them for so long. Now their attention turns to the All-Ireland Series, which begins in the coming weeks. Daniel Duffy, UTV Live at St Ciarnocks Park in Clonus.
Now, Mark Allen has been getting over the disappointment of his World Championship defeat in the semi-finals by swapping his snooker cue for his golf clubs. And I caught up with him yesterday to talk about his latest venture and that black ball. Come rain, hail or shine, the support is always there for our local sporting heroes. Yesterday, the Mark Allen Foundation Golf Day took place at Mazarine in Antrim, all in aid of supporting the local community.
Yeah, given like the forecast, I was pleasantly surprised how many showed up. There were 144 golfers like booked in for the day, and I think everyone showed up, which is really, really good. So this will hopefully be an annual thing, and we can make it bigger and better every year. We've done enough in the last year. We've given a lot to good causes. Elderly, like around New Year, home heating oil, and even before Christmas there, like Smith's vouchers for people that just were unfortunate couldn't like provide for their kids, and this golf day will go a long way in supporting that for a long time.
The golf day was a welcome distraction for Allen after his heartbreaking semi-final loss at the recent World Championship. He was 1 black ball away from reaching the final for the first time.
I'm not going to lie, if it wasn't for this day, I probably would have still been curled into the ball in the house. It's been difficult, it's been very disappointing. I've got good people around me that have been helping towards this golf day, and they've sort of took my mind off it. And don't get me wrong, I've been reminded a lot about that black today as the days went on, but it's a learning curve. I feel like I'll get stronger for it. I'm disappointed, I'm gutted. I feel like I could have been world champion this year, but it'll make it all the sweeter when I do win it. That's the way I look at it.
And even closer to home, he was brought back to reality as soon as he returned from Sheffield.
I think the biggest realisation was coming home and seeing my little girl. I'd been away for 3 weeks and collected her from school. She came running across the playground. I thought she was like so excited to see me. She jumped up into my arms, and the first thing she said was, "Daddy, how'd you miss that black?" So that welcomes you back to earth with a bang. So I wouldn't have it any other way, and it'll just make me stronger going forward. That's all.
Allen has the backing of other sportsmen from here, and he's reached out to others.
He said that he went in the snooker hall for the first time and picked something up, and he couldn't even look at the table. So it'll sting for a little bit. I know how much work he's put in over the last number of years. But hopefully, when the time's right, Mark will be world champion, because he's certainly good enough.
I messaged Harry, and I'd love to speak to Rory, just to pick his brain a little bit about how he felt with those disappointments, especially around the Masters. And hopefully if I can learn a little bit from what he done and what he went through, given what he's done since, it'll only stand me in good stead going forward.
Allen isn't back competing until July, so is planning to enjoy the Mazarine Greens for a few more weeks until he returns to the green tables. It wasn't to be for Rory McIlroy at the second major of the year last night. The PGA Championship was won by Aaron Rai, the first Englishman since 1919 to win it. Rory finished 5 shots short after a final round of 1 under par 69. Back to rugby, Ireland's women welcomed a record crowd of over 31,000 to the Aviva Stadium yesterday. They thrashed Scotland 54-0 and they finished 3rd in the table after 3 home victories during the campaign. Finally, Martin O'Neill guided Celtic to the Scottish Premiership title after a dramatic final day of the season against Hearts. 2 late goals sealed the victory for Celtic, and they now have the chance to win the Scottish Cup this weekend. They take on Dunfermline Athletic. That's your sport this evening. No more home games here for Ulster, but a huge final to look forward to in Bilbao this Friday night. It's Ulster v Montpellier for the Challenge Cup final and the chance to win silverware for the first time in 20 years for the Ulstermen. We'll have much more build-up throughout the week on UTV Live. Bye for now.
And it's weather time now. It's been a dry day, but apparently the rest of the week is due to warm up.
Yeah, some of those showers yesterday were wild. Did you see them?
Unbelievable for May.
Let's hope for some sunshine. Louise has the forecast now.
When it's unpredictable outside, you can rely on the comforts of home. UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
Hello there, good evening. We had plenty of dry weather around today, but we have a change on the way overnight tonight. Patchy light rain will slowly start to edge in, those showers though becoming longer and heavier tomorrow with the risk of some hail and thunder, quite active blustery showers at times, but we will start to draw in milder air over the next couple of days. Low pressure though remains firmly in charge, frontal systems edging in from the Atlantic over the next couple of days. Further outbreaks of rain through Wednesday and the winds will switch direction, coming from a westerly direction as we start to draw in milder air though towards the end of the week. Tonight though, it's a largely dry end to the day. Then we have patchy light rain and drizzle edging in overnight tonight. During the early hours, some heavier bursts will start to push in from the southwest. The winds will pick up along coastal areas, but it's a mild night, temperatures holding up around 11 degrees Celsius. But it's a damp start tomorrow morning. Further outbreaks of rain lingering across eastern areas. Then we have the next system pushing through, some heavy downpours there. Quite active showers, risk of some hail, thunder and lightning, but we'll also have a few brighter breaks in between the showers. Winds will reach around 30 miles per hour in the heaviest downpour with highs of around 17 degrees Celsius. There is a possibility of some surface water on the roads tomorrow evening across County Down and County Antrim, something to keep an eye on. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a blustery day, scattered heavy showers, some sunny spells at times and temperatures reaching highs of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. Remaining rather unsettled over the next couple of days. Further outbreaks of rain at times. Some of those showers becoming quite thundery once again on Fridays. It starts to feel more humid than it has done the past few days. That's very latest. The pollen forecast is next.
UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
Making the most of summer. Perry sponsors UTV Pollen Count.
And pollen levels will remain low for the next couple of days due to the unsettled conditions. We currently have some early grass pollen. That's very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye for now.
And that's the latest from us this Monday evening. I'll be back with your late bulletin at 10:30. Hope you can join me then. You can of course stay up to date online on ITVX.
The ITV News continues now with Mary Nightingale, but from Paul and me, and of course the entire team here in the UTV newsroom in Belfast. Have a very good evening.
Good evening.